In a shocking twist that has left Hollywood reeling and the courtroom whispering, Blake Lively just secured another massive legal victory, one that could shift the entire direction of her ongoing battle against Justin Baldoni and his legal team. Yes, that's right. The judge has ruled in her favor again, this time in relation to a fiercely contested protective order. While the stakes in this case have already skyrocketed with celebrity depositions, media subpoenas, and accusations of career-destroying manipulation, today's ruling may be the most consequential move yet. So what just happened? Well, after weeks of back-and-forth legal maneuvering, a judge has sided with Blake Lively's legal team and granted her renewed request for a protective order, a move that effectively locks down certain sensitive materials, testimony, and documentation from being made public. It's a defensive legal tactic often used in high-profile cases, but here it's igniting an absolute firestorm. Why? Because this comes just days before key depositions are set to begin. We're talking about high-stakes questioning under oath of some of the biggest names in entertainment, some of whom were allegedly caught in the crossfire of Blake's private communications and controversial decisions. Critics argue this protective order could stifle transparency, especially as calls for accountability grow louder across the industry. Supporters, on the other hand, say Blake is simply doing what any public figure would do, fighting to protect herself and her family from what her legal team calls reckless tabloid-driven exposure. But in this war of PR, spin, media leaks, and courtroom battles, nothing is ever that simple. And it's not just legal scholars weighing in. Celebrities, influencers, and even former friends are beginning to speak out. Taylor Swift still silent, Ryan Reynolds playing it cool on Instagram. Justin Baldoni, let's just say he's not hiding his frustration anymore. But perhaps the most telling sign of all, multiple legal experts are now warning that this protective order may be a signal that something explosive is buried within the sealed documents. Something that could either vindicate Blake entirely or shatter her carefully maintained public image. This episode, it's about more than legal paperwork. This is about power, reputation, and whether the truth will survive the Hollywood machine long enough to see the light of day. So buckle up, because this isn't just another courtroom update. This is a seismic shift in a legal war that's only growing more ruthless by the day. When the judge ruled in favor of Blake Lively again, the courtroom didn't gasp, but the fallout was immediate. This isn't just about winning a motion. This is about narrative control, and Lively's legal team knows it. The protective order in question was filed shortly after Justin Baldoni's team requested access to a wide scope of communications, including emails, text messages, and internal notes from Blake's PR consultants and crisis management staff. Baldoni's attorneys had argued that Blake's internal strategy memos, particularly regarding how she handled earlier PR controversies, were critical in demonstrating a pattern of manipulation and public deception. Blake's response, a fierce rejection. Her team claimed the documents were protected under attorney-client privilege and went further, asserting that publicizing them would result in irreparable harm to her mental health, safety, and family. The term targeted harassment was used over a dozen times in their motion, clearly establishing the emotional tone of the request. Still, it was a gamble. Judges are often reluctant to issue broad protective orders, especially in high-profile cases where the public interest is high. But in this case, the judge agreed, granting her the protection she sought. In the ruling, the judge cited concerns over media misrepresentation, saying this court recognizes the unique pressures of public scrutiny on individuals engaged in high-profile litigation. The protection of sensitive, potentially inflammatory material is warranted at this time. Legal analysts were quick to note how unusual it was for the court to side so firmly, especially considering how much had already been leaked to the press. But others say the move may have been a strategic way to prevent further escalation, at least temporarily. But here's where it gets even messier. Depositions, those long, grueling interviews under oath, are still moving forward. Blake may have gotten her protective order, but it doesn't stop the questioning. It only limits what the public and the press will get to see. So while her team can control the headlines for now, the truth may still find a way to crack through that legal armor. According to court scheduling documents obtained by multiple outlets, several depositions are set to begin within the next 2 weeks. Sources suggest that Baldoni himself is among the first to be questioned, and he's expected to be followed by a list of insiders, including former PR reps, assistants, and possibly even mutual friends who found themselves stuck between Team Lively and Team Baldoni. One of the biggest revelations, an unnamed studio executive is rumored to be included in the upcoming round of depositions, And if that's true, it could be catastrophic not just for Blake Lively but for the entertainment industry at large. Why? Because this executive is allegedly tied to multiple internal memos, suggesting preferential treatment, reputation laundering, and yes, witness intimidation. As of now, none of those allegations have been proven in court, but they're being taken seriously enough to become central themes in the discovery phase. This isn't just a legal case, it's a Hollywood case study. So what exactly does this protective order cover, and why is it stirring up such fierce controversy? According to court filings, the protective order granted to Blake Lively restricts the dissemination of a wide variety of documents, everything from internal communications between Blake and her crisis PR team, to text messages exchanged between her and unnamed third parties, some of whom may later become witnesses. It also bars either party from leaking, distributing, or referencing these documents outside of the sealed portions of court proceedings. But here's where it gets truly explosive. Several of these communications were believed to be the backbone of Justin Baldoni's case. His legal team argued these materials would show calculated, reputation-centric decision-making on Blake's part, designed to destroy Baldoni's reputation while protecting her own. In plain terms, Baldoni's team is alleging that Blake didn't just act defensively, she orchestrated a campaign against him, using her media influence, celebrity alliances, and curated leaks to discredit him before he could even speak. Now, with the judge's new order in place, many of those potential smoking guns will remain locked away from the public eye, at least for now. And that's exactly what's ignited a fresh wave of outrage online. Critics of Blake Lively, many of them high-profile influencers and media figures who've felt the sting of her legal team's tactics, are calling foul. One prominent cultural commentator posted, "Blake isn't just trying to protect her family, she's protecting herself from being exposed. This protective order is a shield she's using to dodge accountability." Others, however, see this differently. Some believe this protective order was not only expected, it was necessary. As one entertainment attorney explained, in cases involving high-profile women, particularly those who are also mothers, courts often take extra precautions to prevent media exploitation. This isn't a free pass, it's a pause button. But here's the rub: the deposition process is still rolling forward. And that means real people are going to be asked to tell the truth under oath about what they saw, what they heard, and what they were told to do. We've now confirmed that several subpoenas have already gone out to individuals believed to have worked closely with Blake during the 2022 to 2023 media fallout that preceded this lawsuit. That includes stylists, publicists, and at least one digital media consultant who was part of Blake's online narrative strategy. And then there's the mystery text thread. Yes, that one Baldoni's team has been hinting for weeks about. A now infamous group chat allegedly involving Blake and two other unnamed celebrities. The chat reportedly includes detailed discussions about how to discredit negative press stories, plant narratives with celebrity gossip outlets, and coordinate online defenses against accusations before they even became public. While the existence of this chat has never been officially confirmed, Baldoni's legal team has requested it in discovery. And now that the protective order has been granted, questions are swirling about whether that evidence has been sealed indefinitely, but Blake's legal team is adamant this is about safety. In their official statement, they said Blake Lively has a fundamental right to defend herself in court without the relentless invasion of her privacy or the weaponization of misunderstood documents. This protective order ensures that due process can continue without media interference or online abuse. Meanwhile, the mood from Baldoni's team is anything but calm. In an off-record comment from a source close to his legal counsel, the mood was described as visibly furious and deeply frustrated by the repeated stonewalling. This source added that the protective order represents a calculated delay tactic that prevents accountability while signaling guilt. So what happens next? The depositions continue under seal. That means we may not know exactly what's being said behind closed doors, unless the court allows transcripts to be released in the future. But given the level of interest, it's likely that media outlets and watchdog groups will be filing challenges to the protective order soon. And in the court of public opinion, the backlash is already building. Hashtag Justice for Justin is trending on social media again. And among those amplifying the hashtag, some very familiar faces, including former associates of Blake, former stylists, and even a few celebrities who've remained conspicuously quiet until now. One post allegedly from someone who used to work on Blake's personal team read, "We knew this was coming. She always knew how to get ahead of a scandal. If people ever saw the real messages, it would all fall apart." Whether that's true or just more internet speculation, one thing is clear: this case is no longer just a private legal fight, it's a spectacle. And it's only getting more volatile. With the protective order now firmly in place, Blake Lively may have scored a temporary win. But the war is far from over. The court has made one thing crystal clear: depositions are not being delayed. And that means the truth, whatever it is, may still emerge piece by piece behind the scenes. As of this week, depositions have officially begun, the first to be called Justin Baldoni himself. Sources close to the case have confirmed that Baldoni's deposition took place under heavy security with strict confidentiality measures enforced by both parties. No transcripts have been released, no recordings leaked yet. But insiders describe the session as tense, exhaustive, and shockingly direct. According to someone with knowledge of the proceedings, Baldoni answered a series of pointed questions about the timeline of his fallout with Blake, the origin of specific text messages that circulated online, and his awareness of her crisis team's alleged efforts to destroy his credibility. Blake Lively's attorneys reportedly tried to limit the scope of Baldoni's statements by objecting, frequently citing the protective order and a long list of irrelevant inquiries. However, the judge overseeing discovery allowed most of Baldoni's responses to be entered into sealed records, meaning the court is taking his testimony seriously. But Baldoni isn't the only one being questioned. This week and next, at least 7 key individuals are scheduled for deposition. While the names have not been confirmed publicly due to the protective order, several media outlets, including the Rap and Variety, have independently verified that the list includes a former publicist who worked on Blake Lively's campaign during her 2022 brand endorsement fallout, a stylist turned content creator who allegedly received instructions on how to present Blake favorably during a wave of internet backlash, a social media manager who reportedly had access to a now-deleted Twitter account linked to anonymous defense posts about Blake, an unnamed executive assistant tied to both Blake and Ryan Reynolds' business ventures, and perhaps most notably a former legal intern who allegedly leaked sensitive information to a tabloid. All of these depositions are happening under strict non-disclosure protocols, but the fact that they're happening at all is hugely significant. One legal expert explained, "What we're seeing here is not just a celebrity lawsuit. It's a full-blown reputational investigation. Each of these depositions could produce enough evidence to support or unravel the entire case." In addition to the people being questioned, the content of the depositions is drawing speculation. For example, multiple insiders have confirmed that several lines of questioning center around a mysterious Dropbox folder, reportedly containing sensitive emails, photos, and campaign drafts. The folder's existence was first rumored months ago when a disgruntled ex-employee hinted on Reddit that someone had a full archive of media strategy files that could end Blake's career overnight. Baldoni's team is now trying to obtain access to this folder through discovery. However, Blake's attorneys argue it's fabricated or stolen and have used the protective order to prevent its public disclosure. Meanwhile, public interest in the case continues to grow, especially as the names of more celebrities are whispered in connection to the broader scandal. There are now rumors that additional subpoenas may be sent to several high-profile figures, including a daytime talk show host who allegedly gave Blake a platform to counteract early allegations, a tech entrepreneur tied to a media analytics firm Blake's team allegedly hired for online sentiment monitoring, a PR consultant previously linked to controversial celebrity image rebrands. If these individuals are pulled into the deposition process, the case could escalate even further, potentially drawing in even more lawsuits, NDA letters, and legal side battles. But perhaps the most shocking detail to emerge from this phase is that Ryan Reynolds himself may be deposed. Yes, Blake's husband, known for his quick wit and fan-favorite persona, may be compelled to give sworn testimony if the court finds that he had knowledge of or involvement in any of the strategies being investigated. While Reynolds' legal team has made no public comment, his name has been referenced in court filings, and both parties have tiptoed around the question of whether his communications with Blake are relevant to the case. The stakes immense. If depositions reveal that Ryan Reynolds was involved in orchestrating or approving any of the tactics that Baldoni's team claims were part of a smear operation, the fallout could be devastating, not just for his image but for his business ventures, brand endorsements, and film deals. Multiple studios have already begun quietly monitoring the case, according to Deadline. At this point, one thing is clear: Blake Lively's temporary legal victory is just that, temporary. The truth has a habit of surfacing even under the weight of protective orders and media blackouts. And as depositions move forward, the entire industry is holding its breath to see what cracks next. While the courtroom simmers with depositions, legal maneuvering, and sealed evidence, a very different war is raging outside the media panic. Newsrooms across Hollywood have been scrambling to cover the latest developments. Yet with the protective order muzzling access to documents and transcripts, even major publications are finding themselves shut out. That hasn't stopped speculation. However, if anything, the silence has only made the noise louder. Entertainment insiders are buzzing that this level of legal lockdown usually means one thing. Something very damaging is in those files, and not just to Blake Lively. Whispers are now growing louder that several elite Hollywood figures may have had back-channel communication with Blake's crisis team, not to support her but to protect their own reputations. One leaked DM shared anonymously with an independent gossip site and not yet verified purports to show a conversation between a well-known actor and a handler from Blake's team. The message allegedly reads, "Will deny anything, she knows too much, let her take the heat." If real, this could indicate a much larger coordinated PR cover-up that extended beyond the Lively Baldoni dispute and into broader Hollywood damage control. And still, from many celebrities' radio silence, Taylor Swift, who has been at the center of so much speculation, especially regarding her rumored fallout with Blake, is still refusing to comment publicly. But fans noticed something subtle. Taylor has quietly unfollowed to stylists formerly associated with Blake's red carpet teams. Coincidence maybe, or maybe not. Ryan Reynolds, meanwhile, has posted a few lighthearted videos and Deadpool 3 updates to Instagram, but noticeably no personal photos with Blake in recent weeks. In past months, his account was full of the couple's usual banter. Now it's all Marvel promotion and silence. Insiders claim that his PR team is in full damage control mode, preparing for the possibility that he will in fact be dragged into a deposition. One source described the atmosphere as tight-lipped, tense, and completely on edge. The fear that once Ryan is involved under oath, the entire clean couple image could unravel. Meanwhile, Hollywood's media PR circuits are reeling. Multiple agencies have reportedly circulated internal memos to their clients, urging them to limit association with ongoing litigation surrounding Blake and Baldoni. One leaked email from a major LA publicist firm warns the visibility of this case combined with sealed testimony presents unpredictable brand risk. Do not engage. Even talk show hosts have taken notice. While most daytime and late-night hosts have steered clear of directly naming Blake, some are clearly throwing shade. On a recent broadcast, one comedian joked, "You know things are bad when your deposition has more NDA letters than a Marvel script." Blake's got her own phase for, but it's just lawsuits. The audience laughed, but the punchline wasn't lost on those paying attention. Back online, hashtags like hashtag what is Blake hiding, hashtag justice for Justin, and hashtag unseal the truth are trending. The longer the gag orders remain in place, the louder the public demands become. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Some content creators who have been following the case from the start are now claiming they've been contacted by legal teams, both for statements and in some cases to clarify the source of their commentary. In other words, the subpoenas may not be over. Remember that Blake's team already attempted to issue subpoenas to bloggers and digital commentators, arguing that false or defamatory content was harming her mental health and her family's safety. At the time, the strategy drew backlash. But now, with depositions in full swing and the protective order activated, many believe Blake's legal strategy is turning even more aggressive. Some commentators have taken down videos. Others have doubled down. One YouTuber who received a cease and desist last month posted this week, "They want to silence us, but we're not even the ones on trial here." Blake Lively is protecting herself, but at what cost if she didn't do anything wrong? Why so many lawyers, legal scholars remain divided on whether the court will eventually lift the protective order, especially if third-party depositions start uncovering information that touches on matters of public concern, like abuse of media influence, manipulation of public narratives, or coordinated reputation laundering. As one media attorney put it, there's a constitutional tension here. The court is trying to protect a private individual, but when that individual has weaponized fame to shape public discourse, it becomes harder to argue that everything should remain sealed. And that's the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Because if just one transcript leaks, one key witness flips, one email slips past the protective order, everything could come crashing down. For now, Blake has her legal win, but the tide is shifting. At first glance, it looks like Blake Lively has scored yet another legal victory. The protective order granted, media access blocked, potentially explosive documents and communications sealed behind the court's tightly drawn lines. On the surface, she's managed to control the narrative again. But look just beneath that surface and the picture becomes far more complex. Because while the judge may have sided with her, for now the walls around her are closing in fast. The protective order may have blocked the public from seeing key documents, but it hasn't stopped the depositions. It hasn't silenced the witnesses. It hasn't erased the questions that are now louder than ever. Why were so many people subpoenaed, who were never directly involved in the dispute? What is Blake's team so afraid will be seen? And why is Hollywood, normally full of noise and support for its darlings, so eerily quiet? The answer might lie in the very thing. The protective order is meant to cover narrative control. Blake Lively, as adored as she is, has long maintained a pristine public image: a list marriage, elegant fashion icon, devoted mother, advocate, businesswoman. But that image is now under siege, and not just from Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. Behind the curtain, what we're seeing unfold is a crisis that threatens to redefine celebrity accountability in the digital age. We've entered an era where celebrities are no longer just public figures, they are corporations, media machines, algorithms, trending hashtags, Reddit, AMA letters, curated leaks, and fan army weaponization. And Blake Lively, like so many others, has allegedly used these tools to her advantage. That's what Baldoni's legal team is now trying to prove, that behind the carefully constructed social image was a calculated effort to bury him using private influence over public platforms. And while Blake's team insists the protective order is a safety measure, not an admission of guilt, critics say it's also a smokescreen, a desperate attempt to protect the brand, not the person. But here's the real twist: the more she tries to suppress information, the more suspicion grows. The court of public opinion doesn't wait for sealed files or subpoenaed receipts. It operates in screenshots, rumors, unfollows, and silence, and Blake's silence is becoming deafening. Even allies are backing away. A list peers who once filled her comment section with praise are suddenly absent. Designers have quietly distanced themselves, and entertainment executives once willing to shield her from media storms are now reportedly asking their legal teams how close their own names are to the discovery list. Meanwhile, Baldoni's approach has shifted. While his legal team remains aggressive behind the scenes, he's chosen to take a quieter stance publicly. This isn't about shouting louder than Blake. It's about letting the facts, the depositions, and the witnesses speak for themselves, and they are. There are now confirmed reports that at least one of the witnesses has retained independent counsel not affiliated with either team, and is preparing to submit a separate brief alleging that they were pressured by a third party to change or withhold their statement. The witness allegedly connected to both Blake's personal team and her publicist's firm. If that brief is accepted by the court, it could trigger perjury investigations and possibly invalidate the protective order altogether. The irony: Blake's protective strategy might have just backfired. By fighting so hard to lock everything down, she's drawn even more attention to what might be hidden. And in this media environment, perception often becomes reality. One veteran PR expert explained it bluntly: if she had nothing to hide, she'd welcome the documents being released. The fact that she's spending so much legal muscle to keep it quiet tells the public everything they need to know, even if it's not true. This isn't just about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni anymore. It's about what this case represents: the unchecked power of celebrity PR machines, the blurred lines between public image and private behavior, and the terrifying ease with which reputations can be protected right up until the truth finds its way through the cracks. And make no mistake, the cracks are coming. There are already whispers that other lawsuits could follow, not from Baldoni, but from third parties who may have been caught in the crossfire, people who feel their careers, mental health, or reputations were sacrificed to maintain Blake's image. People who were silenced, threatened, or used. Whether those suits materialize remains to be seen. But in an industry known for turning on its own, Blake may find herself increasingly isolated. And then there's the wild card: Ryan Reynolds. If he's forced to testify, and if his deposition conflicts with any statement Blake has made under oath or through her attorneys, this legal saga could metastasize into something even bigger. Perjury charges, defamation countersuits, contract breaches, public brand terminations. The dominoes are lined up, and one wrong answer could tip them all. So where does this leave Blake now? She has the court's temporary protection, but not the public's unwavering trust. That's already cracking. And the deeper this case goes, the harder it will be to maintain. There's still time, still a narrow path for her to emerge from this with some grace. But it would require transparency, humility, possibly even public accountability. Instead, the current strategy appears to be seal it all, shut it down, outlast the storm. But as we've seen time and again in Hollywood, from Depp v. Heard to the Diddy scandal to the fall of Ellen and the unraveling of once beloved figures, the storm always wins. And when it does, no protective order will save you. So as the depositions continue and Hollywood braces for what could be one of the most revealing trials in celebrity legal history, one question remains: what is Blake Lively so afraid of the world seeing? Until we know that answer, this story isn't over, it's just beginning.